Hi everyone, this is the second lecture on topic 10, endocrine system. We are going to start with the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is a neuroendocrine organ. It is the inferior part of diencephalon, if you remember from the nervous system, and it is attached to the pituitary gland by a stalk called the infundibulum. The hypothalamus, I call it the boss's boss because the hypothalamus controls the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is the master endocrine gland, or the boss, because the pituitary gland controls the functioning of several other endocrine glands. So the hypothalamus, because it is controlling the pituitary, so it is the boss of the boss. The hypothalamus produces two sets of hormones. The first set includes multiple hormones which are collectively known as inhibiting and releasing hormones. These hormones either inhibit, that means stop, or stimulate the secretion from the anterior pituitary gland. For example, corticotropin releasing hormone or CRH. The second set of hormones includes two hormones, oxytocin or OT and antidiuretic hormone or ADH. Oxytocin stimulates uterine contraction during childbirth and milk ejection from the mammary glands, while ADH prevents dehydration. So the oxytocin and ADH are produced by the hypothalamic neurons, and these neurons extend down to the posterior pituitary. So these two hormones are stored in the posterior pituitary. The pituitary gland is also known as the hypophysis, and the pituitary is controlled by secretions from hypothalamus. The pituitary gland consists of two lobes, the anterior lobe, which is called adenohypophysis, and the posterior lobe, which is called neurohypophysis. Together, these two lobes secrete 9 hormones in total. The anterior lobe secretes 7 peptide hormones and the posterior lobe releases 2 peptide hormones. This figure shows the pituitary gland attached to the hypothalamus by the infundibulum. The pituitary sits in the hypophyseal fossa of the sella turcica. This figure shows the location of the pituitary gland in the human brain and also the anterior and the posterior lobes of the pituitary gland. The posterior lobe of pituitary is known as the neurohypophysis because it is innervated by neurons from the hypothalamus. So the hormones that are released are also known as neurosecretions, and it releases two hormones, ADH, which stands for antidiuretic hormone. It is also known as vasopressin, and the second one is oxytocin or OT. ADH is secreted when the blood pressure falls or when the electrolyte, that means ions and salt concentration, is increasing in blood. So this hormone, it targets the nephrons, which are filtration units in the kidneys, and it prevents dehydration by causing the kidneys to preserve or retain water. The hormone oxytocin targets two locations in females. It targets the smooth muscles of the uterus during childbirth, and it also targets the contractile cells of the mammary glands, which helps in milk ejection. It also plays a role in males. In males, this hormone causes smooth muscle contractions in the prostate gland. So the table shows the two hormones coming from the posterior pituitary. The anterior lobe of pituitary or the adenohypophysis is controlled by secretions, the inhibiting and releasing hormones that are coming out from hypothalamus. Adenohypophysis is made up of 3 different regions, and these 3 regions release a total of 7 hormones. The first region is called pars distalis, which secretes 6 out of the 7 hormones. The second one is pars intermedia, that secretes only one hormone, which is melanocyte stimulating hormone. And the third region is pars tuberalis, which does not release any hormone. It simply wraps around the infundibulum. The 6 hormones released by pars distalis are: first, thyroid stimulating hormone or TSH; second, adrenocorticotropic hormone or ACTH; third, follicle stimulating hormone or FSH; fourth, luteinizing hormone or LH; fifth, prolactin or PRL; and the sixth one is growth hormone GH, which is also known as somatotropin. The hormone released by pars intermedia is melanocyte stimulating hormone or MSH. I would expect all of the students to memorize the names of these hormones, the full names as well as the short forms of the hormones. This figure illustrates the 7 hormones coming out from the anterior pituitary and their target organs. For example, FSH and LH, they target the gonads, that means the testes or the ovaries. TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone, it targets the thyroid. ACTH, which stands for adrenocorticotropic hormone, it targets the adrenal cortex. Prolactin hormone targets mammary glands. Melanocyte stimulating hormone targets melanocytes in the skin. And GH, which is growth hormone, targets the liver, bones, muscles and other tissues. There are 5 different cell types present in the adenohypophysis that release the 7 hormones. These cell types are, the first one is thyrotropes, which is located in pars distalis. It releases TSH. Second, gonadotropes, location pars distalis, releases 2 hormones, the FSH and LH. Third, lactotropes, location pars distalis, releases prolactin. Fourth, somatotropes, location pars distalis, releases growth hormone. Fifth, corticotropes, its location is pars distalis as well as pars intermedia. It releases ACTH and MSH. The hormones from hypothalamus cause the adenohypophysis to secrete some of its own hormones in turn. And all of this hormonal transport is done by the hypothalamic hypophyseal portal system. Whenever you hear the term portal, means 2 networks of capillaries close by. So in this portal system, the first plexus of capillaries, which is called the primary plexus, is in the infundibulum, and the secondary plexus, which is the second network of capillaries, is present within the adenohypophysis. The superior hypophyseal artery delivers blood to the primary capillary plexus. Then blood containing the hypothalamic inhibiting and releasing hormones leaves the primary plexus using portal vessels. Then portal vessels will transport the blood containing these hormones to the secondary plexus in the adenohypophysis. And this secondary plexus surrounds the 5 different cell types of the adenohypophysis. The hypophyseal veins would carry the blood containing the anterior pituitary hormones for delivery to its target organs spread throughout the body. This figure illustrates the hypophyseal portal system. Let's go over the hormones of the adenohypophysis one by one. The first one is thyroid stimulating hormone. From the name itself, you know that this targets the thyroid gland, and it stimulates the thyroid gland to secrete 3 of its own hormones, which are calcitonin or CT, thyroxine, which is T4, and triiodothyronine, which is T3. The second hormone is adrenocorticotropic hormone or ACTH. This hormone targets the cortex of the adrenal gland, and it causes the adrenal cortex to release glucocorticoids. The third hormone is follicle stimulating hormone or FSH, and the fourth one is luteinizing hormone, which is LH. Together, FSH and LH are known as gonadotropins. Both of these hormones target the ovaries in females. FSH causes the release of estrogen, while LH causes the release of progesterone. In males, FSH targets the seminiferous tubules in the testes and it causes sperm production, while in male, LH targets the interstitial cells and causes the release of testosterone. Fifth hormone is prolactin, which targets the mammary gland and causes milk production. The sixth hormone is growth hormone, GH, also known as somatotropin, and it targets cells as well as muscles and bones. So it stimulates protein synthesis. It causes the release of somatomedins, which stimulate protein synthesis in muscles. The seventh hormone is melanocyte stimulating hormone or MSH, which targets the melanocyte cells of the skin and causes melanin production. This table shows all the 7 anterior pituitary hormones along with their targets. This figure illustrates all the 9 hormones which come out from the pituitary gland. Please keep in mind that the adenohypophysis makes, that means produces and secretes 7 hormones. But the posterior lobe of pituitary, that is the neurohypophysis, it does not make or produce any hormones. It simply stores 2 hormones that are made by the hypothalamus, and then it releases those hormones. This table also shows the inhibiting and releasing hormones secreted by the hypothalamus, which go and target the pituitary gland, and then the hormones secreted by the pituitary gland also. This is also a summary table. We are done with pituitary gland. So now we move to thyroid gland, which is present at the base of the throat, and it consists of 2 lobes which are connected by a bridge known as the isthmus. The thyroid gland produces 3 hormones, calcitonin or CT, thyroxine or T4, and triiodothyronine or T3. This figure shows the thyroid gland. The function of the hormone calcitonin is to decrease the blood calcium levels because it causes the deposition of calcium on bone. This is antagonistic, that means opposite in nature, to parathyroid hormone. This is produced by the parafollicular cells of the thyroid gland. T3 and T4, that means triiodothyronine and thyroxine hormones, are major metabolic hormones of the body. These are produced by follicular cells in the thyroid. This slide describes how the thyroid hormones are regulated by the pituitary and also hypothalamus. Let us try to understand this regulation using the next slide. So look at this figure. On the left side, it says homeostasis. When the body is in homeostasis, the T3 and the T4 levels are optimal in blood and body temperature is normal. Now for some reason, the homeostasis gets disturbed. We are moving to the top of the figure. So when the homeostasis is disturbed, the T3 and the T4 levels, let's say, are going down in blood. So the body temperature is falling. When the levels of T3 and T4 go down, immediately the hypothalamus releases TRH hormone. The TRH hormone goes to the anterior lobe of the pituitary, that is the adenohypophysis, using the hypophyseal portal system. And then it stimulates the adenohypophysis to secrete TSH, which stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. TSH in the blood, it goes and binds with its receptors on the thyroid gland, and it causes the thyroid follicles to release T3 and T4. So T3 and T4 levels in blood start rising again and homeostasis is restored.